All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to explore the absolutely brilliant world of the ancient Maya, a civilization that, get this, mastered concepts that would literally shape human knowledge forever.
So I've got a puzzle for you. For more than 2,000 years, the Maya thrived in Mesoamerica, building these incredible cities and tracking the cosmos with stunning accuracy. So the big question is, how did they do it? How did they crack a mathematical code that some of the greatest minds in Europe wouldn't figure out for centuries?
And the answer is zero. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Zero? But this wasn't just the number. It was the idea of zero, the concept of a placeholder, of nothingness. And that little idea, it's the key to all complex math. The Maya got it way, way before it ever showed up in Europe. I mean, that is a massive intellectual leap.
So to really get how they pulled this off, we need to zoom out a bit. We've got to understand their world. Who were the Maya, where did they live, and what did their society actually look like? First off, we're not talking about some small, isolated group. The Maya civilization was huge, a sprawling network that covered a huge chunk of modern-day Central America. And we're talking about a civilization that thrived for over 2,000 years. Just think about that for a second. This whole region was the buzzing hub of their culture, their trade, and all their amazing scientific discoveries.
Okay, so let's focus in on their golden age, what's known as the Classic Period. We're talking from about 250 all the way to 900 CE. This is when you see these legendary city-states like Tikal and Calakmul just exploding onto the scene. They're the ones who built those mind-blowing pyramids and massive plazas that honestly still leave us speechless today.
But here's something you really need to get about the Maya, and it's a game changer. They weren't a single unified empire, like, say, the Aztecs or the Incas. Forget that idea. Instead, picture this, a dynamic, shifting network of independent city kingdoms. Each one had its own king, its own rules. And they were all constantly interacting, trading, making alliances, and yeah, definitely going to war with each other.
And it was right in the middle of this competitive, dynamic world that their genius for science and math really took off. I mean, they became absolute masters of time and space.
You see, the Maya were, and I'm not exaggerating, obsessed with time. And to understand it, they looked to the stars. These guys were master astronomers. They tracked the sun, the moon, Venus, you name it, with a precision that is just staggering for their time. And all that data, they used it to create these incredibly complex overlapping calendar systems. They had one for tracking history over vast stretches of time, the long count, and another, a 260-day cycle, that was all about guiding their rituals and spiritual lives.
And hey, this brings us full circle, right back to where we started. To make all these huge cosmic calculations work, you need a seriously sophisticated number system. And that's where zero comes in. For the Maya, zero wasn't just some philosophical concept. No way. It was a practical, essential tool. It's what let them calculate and record these massive spans of time, the very calculations their entire society was built on.
But look, their genius wasn't just about math and stars. They built this incredibly rich culture, all woven together by a deep, deep connection between their kings, their gods, and their unique way of writing.
And this writing system was at the absolute heart of everything. Now, this is not simple picture writing. We're talking about a super sophisticated script, Maya hieroglyphics. It cleverly combined signs that stood for whole words with signs that stood for syllables. What does that mean? It means they could write down anything they could say. Just imagine, royal histories, detailed family trees, scary prophecies, astronomical data. It was all there. So what were they writing about? Well, they were recording their whole worldview, which was deeply, deeply spiritual. They saw the universe as being held together by a giant, sacred world tree. They believed gods governed every single aspect of life, from the corn harvest to the outcome of a battle. And the king? The king wasn't just a guy in charge. He was the bridge between the human world and the divine, the one person responsible for keeping the whole cosmos in balance.
So you have this powerful, brilliant, complex civilization. It seems like they're unstoppable, right? Well, that brings us to one of history's great mysteries, the so-called Great Maya Collapse. But, and this is super important, we have to think of it as a chapter in their long story, not the end.
So let's just ask us straight up, what on earth happened? Around the 9th century, many of those huge, powerful southern cities we were just talking about were just abandoned. The people left. Why? Where did they go? What happened to the kings and priests that held it all together?
Well, there's no single smoking gun. Instead, what scholars now believe is that it was a kind of perfect storm,
a lethal combination of factors. We're talking about massive, long-lasting droughts that would have completely wrecked their food supply. And when resources get scarce, what happens? People fight. Warfare between the city-states ramped up, and all that chaos meant the divine authority of the kings just crumbled.
But listen, and this is maybe the most important takeaway of all. The people did not just vanish into thin air. The culture didn't die out. This was not the end of the Maya story. It was a massive shift, a transformation. While those great southern cities were being reclaimed by the jungle, cities in the north, like the famous Chichen Itza, were actually hitting their peak and would thrive for centuries more.
And that brings us to our final part here, which is maybe the most incredible part of the whole story. The Maya are not just some ancient people in a history book. The legacy is alive. It's breathing. It's right here, right now.
How alive, you ask? Well, this number really says it all. We're talking about millions. Millions of Maya descendants are living today right in the same areas their ancestors called home. They're still speaking Maya languages, still practicing traditions that go back generations. It's just an unbelievable story of cultural resilience.
You know, this quote here really just nails it, doesn't it? When you think about the Maya, don't just think about jungle ruins. Think about a legacy of pure intellectual brilliance. With their math and astronomy, think about the stunning artistry you can still see in their work. And most of all, think about that incredible, enduring cultural resilience that is still going strong today.
The story of the Maya is such a powerful reminder that human genius isn't confined to one place or one time. It can pop up anywhere. And that really leaves you with a final question to chew on, doesn't it? What other forgotten brilliance, what other game-changing ideas are still out there, just buried in our ancient past, waiting for us to find them?